The success of the table of one had left a warm glow in Elif's heart. But as she walked with Arbin through the quiet morning streets of the bazaar, she noticed the closed shutters of those who couldn't leave their homes. "The square was full," she whispered, looking at the empty cobblestones. "But I keep thinking of the ones who weren't there, the elders on the steep hills, the mothers with small children." Arbin nodded, his expression thoughtful. He knew that the spirit of Ramadan wasn't just about bringing people to the table, but also about bringing the table to the people. At a small community center near the river, they met Hana, a bright-eyed student who had heard of their iftar project. Hana was an expert at logistics and had a list of families in the upper neighborhoods of Skopje who were homebound. "If we can't bring them to the light of the lanterns," Hana said, spreading a fresh map across a wooden desk, "we will bring the light to their doorsteps." Elif felt a surge of renewed energy. Together, they began to plan the baskets of baraka, care packages, filled with nutritious food and heartfelt notes. Arbin and Hana spent the afternoon organizing the supplies. The community center's hall was soon filled with crates of dates, jars of honey, and bags of rice. Hana showed Arbin a system for sorting the items so that each basket was perfectly balanced. They worked in a rhythmic silence, the only sound the crinkle of packaging and the distant call of a street vendor. Arbin admired Hana's efficiency. She turned their lofty ideas into a tangible reality, one crate at a time. Elif returned to Uncle Adam's bakery, where the air was thick with the comforting scent of fresh yeast. "More pied?" Uncle Adam asked with a knowing wink before she could even speak. He had already set aside dozens of small, round loaves specifically for the home deliveries. Elif helped him pull the last tray from the oven, the heat radiating against her skin. She told him about the families on the hill, and Uncle Adam added a small bag of almond cookies to each pile. "Sweetness for the soul," he said softly. By mid-afternoon, the baskets were ready. Hana and Elif began the trek toward the Topana neighborhood, where the streets grew steeper and the houses leaned closer together. Each basket was heavy, but the two women moved with a steady pace, sharing the weight of a particularly large crate between them as they climbed. They laughed as they navigated a sudden turn, their shared mission turning the physical labor into a moment of bonding. The view of the city began to open up behind them, a tapestry of red roofs and minarets. Meanwhile, Arbin and Luann were using a small bicycle cart to navigate the lower neighborhoods. Luann pedaled with all his might while Arbin walked alongside, steadying the baskets as they bumped over the old stones. They made an unlikely team, the tall, steady Arbin and the energetic, fast-talking Luann. Whenever they reached a destination, Arbin would let Luann take the lead, watching with a smile as the younger boy's enthusiasm brought a grin to the faces of the neighbors they visited. Elif and Hana reached a small, blue-painted house at the very top of the hill. The climb had left them breathless, but the sight of the blooming jasmine over the doorway made them pause. Hana checked her list and nodded. "This is it," she whispered. They set the basket down for a moment to catch their breath, looking out over the Vardar River winding through the valley below. They felt like guardians of the city, carrying small sparks of kindness to its highest reaches. The door opened to reveal Mrs. Fatima, a woman whose smile seemed to contain the history of the whole neighborhood. Elif handed her the basket, explaining it was a gift from the community. Mrs. Fatima's eyes filled with tears as she took a loaf of Uncle Adam's bread, the warmth still lingering in the crust. She insisted they stay for a moment, and though they had more deliveries, Elif sat on the porch with her, listening to a quick story about Ramadan's past. The connection felt as nourishing as the food they had brought. Back in the lower town, Arbin and Luann encountered an elderly man named Izet, who was struggling to fix a broken garden gate. Without a word, Arbin set down his baskets and pulled a small toolkit from the bike cart. While Luann handed out the food to Izet's neighbors, Arbin worked on the hinge. By the time they were ready to move on, the gate swung smoothly. Izet thanked them with a firm handshake, his eyes shining with gratitude for the help he hadn't even asked for. As the sun began its descent, Elif and Arbin met back on the stone bridge, their baskets empty but their spirits overflowing. Hana and Luann joined them, the four of them forming a small circle against the backdrop of the deepening sky. "We didn't just feed people today," Arbin said, looking at the lanterns beginning to flicker on across the city. "We wove ourselves into their lives." Elif looked at her friends, the builders, the planners, the helpers, and realized that the true light of Vardar was the bridge they had built between hearts.